Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kuru Me Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada. Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha Guru Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namaste, dear friends. A very warm Namaste, dear friends. A very warm welcome from Team Param Vedanta to session 3 of our deep exploration into the profound ancient wisdom of Panchadashi, focusing on its first chapter, Tattva Viveka. In our last session, we studied shlokas 5 to 8, where we learned consciousness continues unchanged through waking, dream, and deep sleep states. It is eternal, self luminous, beyond time, and unaffected by cosmic changes. The consciousness is also the self, which is the source of ultimate bliss. That is Sat Chit Ananda. And true happiness lies in realizing this very nature of our being. Today, we advance further into shlokas 9 to 12 of Tattva Viveka, where we will explore the natural and unconditional nature of self love, the realization that Atma or the self and Brahman are one and the same, how manifestation of self love depends on the inner bliss of the self, and why the partial self knowledge can hinder the realization of this inner bliss. Guiding us through these profound concepts are our speakers, Srimati Indumati, Dr. Sheila Jaiprakash, Srimati Kirti Sridhar, and Dr. Kiran, each sharing their insights on their verses. We will also have a reflective quiz conducted by Srimati Sukanya toward the end of the session to help us deepen and strengthen our understanding. Let us begin by revisiting the essence of our previous session presented by Dr. Divakar, followed by our Dr. Hegde sir, who will graciously lead us into today's session.
Dhanyavada. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Namas Shri Shankarananda Guru Padambu Janmane Savilasa Mahamoha Graha Grasaika Karmane. Profound gratitude to all our gurus, Swamy Vidyaranya, Swamy Paramatma ji, and Timappa Hegde sir and the team Param Vedanta. We will reflect on the verses studied in the last class. So Tattva Viveka, as we know, is a Prakarana Grantha which deepens our understanding of the Atma Vichara. So Gnana Yoga is nothing but the Atma Vichara. Prakarana Granthas will help us in understanding and doing this Mananam in lot more detail, and also help us in the Nididhyasanam. The very word Viveka comes from the root word called as Vik, which in turn comes from the word Vaivekti, which is the ability to discern. Now, Tattva is the reality or the principle which deals with the discerning principle. You can see these two terminologies, reality and discerning ability. Ability to discern what? What is that we need to discern from what? So in Gnana Yoga, it is very clearly mentioned that it is the Viveka of the Atma and Anatma. Likewise, in the Dharma Shastra, when we say Atato Dharma Jignasa, there the discerning ability will have to be between Dharma and Adharma. Here at Atma and Anatma Viveka has to be done at the individual level as well as at the macrocosmic level. Now, in the individual level, it is called as Atma and Atma Viveka. And at the macrocosmic or the samasti level, it can be the discerning principle between the Brahman and the Maya. So, at one level, we have Jivatma, and the other level is Paramatma. Then comes the Aikya Vichara, which is nothing but the essential oneness of the Jivatma and the Paramatma, which is Atma at the individual level and Brahman at the macrocosmic level. And that Aikya Vichara, we realize that both are one and the same. Therefore, I am of the higher nature of Satchidananda. Now, in this section, between the verses 3 and 6, we are analyzing the Jivatma Vichara. Here, Swamy Vidyaranya takes us through the Sat aspect, the Chit aspect, as well as the Ananda aspect of our higher self. In reality, these are all synonyms. There is no difference between Sat, Chit, and Ananda. All of them are the essential nature of the consciousness, or I, the Atma. They are not the attributes, they are the essential natures. So initially, the Chit component is elaborately dealt with, particularly taking through the Avastatraya Prakriya. We will see in the next slide. We saw in the verse 3, at the Jagrat Avastha, we experience a lot of objects, and these objects are perceived through our sense organs. These sense organs will relay this information to our brain, our mind, where the thoughts will make sense of these objects, and therefore the experiences are felt. If you look at it carefully, what we need to realize is experience is just a plane. On top of that plane, we have all these variations of objects and the thoughts. In other words, it is a bit like the screen on the movie theater, where various objects, various colors, various characters come and go. That screen can be seen as the consciousness principle. And that experience, that experience that we see on the screen or study, and they are firm and they retain in our memory for a much longer time. Whereas the screen itself does not undergo any modifications, as we know. The very same thing happens in the Swapna Avastha, albeit the experiences are very brief and there is no continuity. It is unsteady experiences we have in the Swapna Avastha. There also we see the objects, there also we have the thoughts. In the verse 5, in the next slide, we will see the same logic is now taken into the Sushupti Avastha. We have seen in the Jagrat Avastha, the screen doesn't change. Swapna Avastha, the screen doesn't change. What happens at Sushupti Avastha? Sushupti Avastha, or the Sushupti Nyaya, is a very popular and very commonly used Nyaya to put forth the classical Advaita philosophy. In Sushupti Avastha, everything is in a dormant position. Our sense organs, our mind, everything except perhaps the prana shakti where we are breathing and the heart is functioning, everything else is in a dormant state. But still, what happens to the screen? It's as if like the movie relying onto the screen has been shut out, but the screen continues to exist. And why do we say that the screen was there? The fact that we wake up in the morning and say that I slept well, I can't remember anything at all. Even to say I can't remember anything, but I slept well, means that there was something as a witness to our experience. Of course, this is through the anumana or the inference. And we know that that experience was through the avarana shakti of our nidra. And therefore, the shariram which is active in that state of sushupti is the karana shariram. Karana Shariram also represents avidya. As we know, Maya at the microcosmic level is also called as avidya. You see, avidya means ignorance, which means ignorance or the absolute ignorance is represented at Sushupti. When we say ignorance is bliss, the problem is we are ignorant about that bliss as well. Only when we wake up in the morning, we know that we slept well, but at that time, when we were asleep, we were not even aware of that bliss nature. Jivan Mukta will be a bit like Sushupti in the wakeful state. He will have that bliss in a wakeful state. So this famous shlokam of the Dakshinamurti Stotra talks about this. Pragaswapsamitih prabodh samaye yah pratyabhignayate, which means that person on waking up who proclaims that I slept well and realizes that that is because of the consciousness principle is the one who is equivalent, or uh, he is none other than he is like Dakshinamurti. In the next slide, we will see this particular experience of that which is present in Jagrat, that which is present in Swapna, that which is present in Sushupti is not there just for one day. It is there every day. It's not only every day, it is through weeks, it is through months, it is through years, and it is through, kalpas. That aspect is now shifting from the Chit Swarupa, that consciousness which is there across the time without any change, is also called as Sat. Now the transition has taken place from Chit to the Sat aspect. Now, since this consciousness is eternally existent, it is called as Sat, that which is independently present, that which is not changing across the time. For that which is ever existent, existence has to be its intrinsic nature. Just like how heat was always present whenever there is fire, we will not say that the heat has arrived and departed from the fire. In fact, the very word fire, you give that name because of its principle of heat and light. So it was always there with it. Just like that, this consciousness principle has always been there throughout the kalpas and beyond that. It is beyond the time. Therefore, it is called as Sat. Trikale yat tishtati tat Sat. That which exists in the past, present, and the future without any change is the Sat. That is the Sat when we say Brahma Satyam. Next slide, sir. The same logic now continues to Ananda. But before that, a technical point about the kalpas, which is described in the verse 7. One kalpa is equivalent to 1000 Mahayugas, which is roughly 4.32 billion years. In fact, one day of Brahmaji, which is one day plus night, is 8.64 billion years. And this consciousness is beyond that. Just to get things into a perspective, this is being put by Swamiji. Next slide, sir. So now we see the same principle, the very same Chit which was present through the avasthas. The very same Chit is also Sat because it is present to Trikalas across the Kalpas, is also Ananda. Now it's talked about how is it considered as Ananda. The most dearest one to all of us is who? To me, I myself. Love for the self, the prema atmani ikshate. Everyone desires, this, the self-love. And if we realize that, that I, which is the Chit, which is ever stable across the three states, is the same as the Sat, which is independently existent beyond the time and space. And that principle has to be all pervading and everywhere, which means it is Purnam, as if like it's the completely, something which is completely full. And that Purnam can be also classed as Anantatvam, or that which is there everywhere, all pervading. That which is full, which is beyond space and time, cannot have any impurities, cannot have any doshas. Where is the question of talking about ego and any defects? Therefore, that Anantam is also Anandam. That is the source for the bliss. And therefore, just like how we inferred that Chit is Sat because it is present across the time, because it is all pervading without any doshas, the very same principle, Ananda, has to be its innate nature. It is not an attribute. It is the innate nature, just like the Sat. Therefore, I am that Chit, which is Satchidananda Brahman Asmi. We will continue the study of the Ananda Swarupa in the subsequent verses. Hari Om, sir.
Thank you very much, Dr. Devakar. That was an excellent overview of all the verses that we have studied until now. Sadashivasamarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Om. We are studying the first chapter of Panchadashi titled Tattva Viveka Prakarana. As nicely spoken already by Dr. Devakar, in the first 8 verses itself, we began with a bang. So the whole Panchadashi begins in a very positive note, giving the entire Vedanta in a nutshell. So, how does Vidyaranya Swami introduce Vedanta to us? There is no scriptural inputs only. Without any scriptural inputs, he brings us and asks us to analyze our every experience. You are listening to me. As you are listening to me, can you become aware of that principle because of which you are able to listen? That means you are conscious, and it is that conscious entity because of which you are able to listen to my words, and you are aware of the gap and the silence in between my words. Once you are aware of the gap, in every gap, it is easy to come in touch with that awareness principle. And when there is too many thoughts, we get lost in the thoughts and we forget about that awareness principle or consciousness. Now, what is the exercise that we need to do? The thought about all the words that I am speaking. Every slide, every thought, every sentence I speak generates certain thoughts in your mind. Those thoughts are all changing. But the one who's observing, watch, that observer is not changing. So, what we are studying in the first few verses, and which will be highlighted in the class today, is to become aware of that constant principle, that which never changes. So, you will see one thing: what I am conscious of is constantly changing. That I am conscious never changes. That means if there is the I am principle, that I am principle is always there in waking, in dream, and in deep sleep state. Now continue the same analysis. Now we are analyzing the conscious principle. The conscious principle that we heard is the same, whereas experiences change. That which never undergoes change in all three periods of time is also called Sat. Therefore, by reasoning itself, we are able to say Sat eva Chit, or Chit alone is Sat. So, and who is this Sat Chit? That is my true nature. So, the body mind is only incidental. My, my real nature is Sat Chit Atma. The next, we have a question that has been analyzed very nicely uh, in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. It is also called the Maitreya Brahmana, where this question is asked: whom do you love the most, or whom do you love unconditionally? You will see so many people come and go in our life, but there is one person whom I have been able to love all the time and also unconditionally, and that is clearly we all love ourselves the most. Now, it is also reasoned why do I love myself? Because we love only someone who is a source of happiness. Therefore, I am, so I must be a source of happiness. Therefore, this Sat Chit must also be Ananda. So, what is my true nature? I am Sat Chit Ananda. So, Vidyaranya helps us to analyze our own experience and come to this firm conclusion: I am Sat Chit Ananda. Now we go back to Vedanta, and Vedanta says Brahman, the reality, is also Satchit Ananda, and therefore in today's class we will be coming to this Mahavakya, Aham Brahmasmi. The rest of the entire Panchadashi is we have partial knowledge and partial ignorance. If I had total ignorance, there was no problem. If I had total knowledge, I have no problem. The problem is I know, but I do not know my true nature. And because I have partial knowledge and partial ignorance, instead of claiming that Satchit Ananta Aham Asmi or Aham Brahmasmi, I identify with this body mind and claim myself that I am the limited jiva who's undergoing all the problems in this world. This is called avidya, or this is also the Hridaya Granthi, which is the cause of all samsara. Now, we have heard this phrase many times, Mana eva manushyanam karana panda mokshay. The glory of a human being is that we have the mind. But all our scriptures say this mind can be the source of all our problems. But the good news is this mind that we are trying to train through Guru and Shastra can also be the source of liberation. Why, as a human being, I'm an evolved species? Why is that we as human beings undergo so much suffering? Now, we interact a lot with human beings, but if you are able to go to a place where there are a lot of animals and you interact with animals like a cow, you will see they are so much at peace with whatever they do. I mean, they go through normal activities, but if you see a cow resting and chewing the cud, you will never see any anxiety, any stress, any hurry, any jealousy, any upsets going on in the mind of a cow. Why is that we are so glorious as a human being, but when you are by yourself, you will see so much of anxiety, so much of misery is growing on in the mind of a human being. We are supposed to be evolved, but with this evolution comes the problem. There is this biblical story in the Old Testament of Adam and Eve, and Bhagwan Osho has given a new interpretation to this Adam and Eve story. In the Adam and Eve story, it is said that the whole of the Garden of Eden, Adam and Eve were just like all other animals, uh, absolutely naked, no sense of time, no sense of place, and they were blissful in the Garden of Eden. There was enough for everybody. They had only one instruction, not to eat from the tree of knowledge. So the serpent, which is here considered as the devil, comes and tells Eve, now why has God forbidden you to eat from the tree of knowledge? Because if you get jnanam, that's what we will say, if you get knowledge, you will become like God. You will attain to Aham Brahmasmi. That is why knowledge has been forbidden. Now, so whenever something is forbidden, then there is a temptation to do what is forbidden. The moment Eve and Adam had eaten from the tree of knowledge, first thing they became self-conscious. The ego was born. And just like when we wake up in the first thing in the morning, what is born? The sense of time is born, place is born, and the sense of identity of the jiva or the limited me is born, which was not there when I was fast asleep. So the moment mind is born, all these three. Now, with this knowledge that we have got from that uh, forbidden tree, or that we have got partial knowledge. So with partial knowledge, I know, but I do not know Aham Brahmasmi, and therefore all this samsara. Now, how do we solve this problem? Now, from partial knowledge, we have to go to total knowledge. If there is one exercise that we will do. So in today's class, we will see what is this term called pratibandha. Although I am already that, there must be something that prevents me from knowing my true nature. If there is one exercise, one sadhana that we need to do is analyze our own experience and come in touch with two things. One is called, if you can experience that, when I'm not speaking, you become aware of that experience principle. When that is objectless awareness, and that is called the samanya jnanam. When I speak about an apple, you get a thought of an apple. That thought of the apple now takes possession of your mind. That becomes a vishesha jnanam. So in the background, during waking, dream, and deep sleep, there is one constant principle of awareness, But the moment the mind becomes awake, the mind focuses through the sense objects, and we get various thoughts in our mind. And all day and most of our day is fixed in, not in Samanya Jnanam, but in Vishesha Jnanam. So what does a Jnani do? A Jnani is one who identifies that Samanya Jnanam in and through every experience. That is why we quote that word from Kenopanishad, Prati Bodha Viditam Matam. In every experience, can I come in touch with the experiencer? And when I come in touch with the experiencer, ask yourself this question: am I seeing this whole world from the perspective of a limited mind who has so much to accomplish and so much to do, who has a sense of limitations? Or am I seeing this whole world from the status of Purnatvam, of a jnani called Aham Brahmasmi, who has nothing to do, who has nowhere to go, and there is nothing to prove to anybody, but I am Yogaratova, Bogaratova, Sangaratova, Sanga Vihinaha, Yasya Brahmani Ramate Chittam, Nandati, Nandati, Nandat Eva. That should be our sadhana, and we will see all that in class today. Our opening speaker will be Indumati Venkat. Induji, please.
Yes, sir. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. In the previous verse, we saw that we love ourselves, our very being, more than everything else, even our body. So it is supremely blissful or bliss itself. Sometimes people hate themselves, that is, due to the hatred for some suffering through body, mind, etc., with which it is identified for the time being. The self appears to be hated due to its association with one or the other of them. The teacher now quotes the scriptures and also makes some logical deductions and substantiate our own experience in this regard. We shall see the sloka number 9. तत्प्रेमार्थमन्यत्र नैव मन्यार्थमात्मनः अतस्तत्परमं तेन परमानन्दतात्मनः. We shall see the word by word meaning. Anyatra, for others. Prema, love. Tat atmartham is for the sake of the self. Evam atmani, similarly for the self. Anyartham, for others. Na, not. Ataha, therefore. Tat, that love. Paramam, supreme. Tena, therefore. Atmanaha, of the self. Paramanandata, the nature of supreme bliss, is proved. The love for the other things and beings is for the sake of self, but the love for the self is not for the sake of others. Therefore, it is said that the love for the self is supreme. Therefore, the self is of the nature of supreme bliss. In the next slide, we see Anyatra prema tat atmartham. Love for objects in location other than oneself, such as love for wife, husband, children, wealth, health, property, etc. All that love is, in ultimate analysis, for one's own sake. It is said, Atmanastu kamaya sarvam priyam bhavati. Everything is not dear for the sake of that object, but for one's own sake. I is the central figure with reference to whom liking and disliking operates. The love for the self is supreme love. Tena atmanaha param anandata. Therefore, one can conclude logically that everything in this world is because of the Atma, this self which is of the nature of Paramananda. In the next slide, we see Swamy Vidyaranya logically shows how self-love is unconditional and how the love for others is conditional. Anyatra tat prema. The love shown towards other people is not for their sake. It is love for their sake. I would have loved everyone universally, but my love is directed towards some people or certain people because they have some connection to me, direct connection or indirect connection. Just as in a school function, the parents wait only for their own children's participation in the function and not for others' children. Once our children change the school, even the love for that school shifts to another school where our children are now studying. In the next slide, we see that Swamy Vidyaranya says, Anyatra prema, love for others is for Atmartham. It is because it serves on my self interest, my happiness, and my comfort. Therefore, it is conditional love. Whereas the love for myself is not because of the existence of a thing or non existence of a thing. Love for myself is unconditional. Atmanaha prema na anyartham. Atmanaha prema means self love. Na anyartham. It is not for the sake of others. It is for the sake of myself. And love for others is not for the sake of others. That is also for my own sake. Ataha. Therefore, Tat Paramam. Self love is unconditional. Atmanaha Paramanandata. Atma is the greatest source of Ananda and also real source of Ananda and only source of Ananda. Hari Om. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Induji, for making this point very clear that everybody loves himself or herself the most. That we know. But what we need to see is to discover that there is something of eternal bliss which is there within myself. And if I'm able to discover that, I don't have to look for any more happiness outside of me. We will continue in the next verse by Dr. Sheila. Dr. Sheila, please.
Hari Om, Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. The shloka goes like this. Itam Sat Chit Parananda Atma Yukta Tata Avidam Param Brahma Tayacha Ekyam Shruti Antesha Upadishyati. The first two lines of this verse concludes the topic which we learned from verse 3 to 9. What is that? Just to reinforce what our sir and also our friends have spoken till now. By Avastatraya Viveka, Vidyaranya Swami first established the continuous consciousness which exists in every body, every mind, every thought, even when they undergo constant changes throughout their life and also after the fall of the body. And then he also said the very nature of Atma is Sat or the existence itself. So, existence consciousness alone is our real nature, that is nothing but I, the self. In the last two verses of 8th and 9th verses, just now even Indumati Madam spoke about it in detail, that Atma was established as Ananda Swarupa. I love myself and I love others for myself. Self-love is Parama and it is the greatest because it is unconditional. The line here, Itam, in this way, Sat-Chit Parananda, existence, consciousness and bliss, Atma Yukta Tata Avidam, has the self been established by reasoning. Yukta means that is by logical reasoning. So, by logical reasoning, Atma, the self, is of the nature of Sat-Chit Ananda. In the next slide, that is the next two lines. Then Vidyaranya Swami says, we come to know of Param Brahma or Paramatma with the help of scriptures. That there is a Paramatma and that Paramatma is also of the nature of Satchit Ananda. Then Jivatma and Paramatma should be identical And this oneness is also revealed by our Shrutis as Mahavakyas. In the next slide, we'll see one example which we have studied in the last few months back. That is the mantra from the second mantra of Mandukya Upanishad. Sarvam etat Brahma ayam Atma, Brahma so ayam Atma Chatuspad. The Upanishad gives the Mahavakyam, I am Atma Brahma. That is, I, the self, is Brahman. It says that Brahman has got four components, that is Virat, Hiranyagarbha, Ishvara, and Nirguna Turyam. And similarly, this self has four components, that is Vishwa, Taijasa, Prajna, and Turyam. So, by Lakshartha, that is both, that is Jivatma and Paramatma are one and the same. Little more on this. I am indicates this, which means intimately available, not as an object, but the very subject, that is Aparoksha Satya. And next, Upanishads later points out that Brahman, which people may think as a remote reality, which is away from us, is not so. Really speaking, it is not Paroksham, a remote entity, but it is nothing but the Atma, which is available as Aparoksha Satyam or Aparoksha Haham. So to conclude, the self, that is Satchit Ananda, is known through logic, and the other, that is a Param Brahma, is also Satchit Ananda, and both Jivatma and Paramatma are the one and the same and is known by Shrutis, and that is the scriptures. Hari Om, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sheila. So what have we seen so far? In the first 9 verses, we have seen that through reasoning, that means through our own experiences, that is called anubhuti. And from anubhuti, we derive a certain logic that is called yukti. From anubhuti and yukti, we have discovered I am Satchit Ananda. And through scriptures, that means our whole exercise so far has been Shruti, Yukti, and Anubhuti. We have discovered Jivatma, Paramatma, Aikyam. In fact, our whole spiritual journey is over. But then, although I know all this, I don't experience this Purnatvam. There must be a problem. Kirti, please.
Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Panchadashi, chapter 1, verse 11. Abhanena param prema, bhanena vishaya spruha, ato bani api abhata asau, paramanandata atmanaha. Translation. There cannot be supreme love for the unknown. If the self is known, there cannot be desire for objects of pleasure. Therefore, although the supreme bliss of the self is known in general, it is not known in its full importance. Next slide. From the previous verses of this chapter, we know that Jivatma Swarupa is Satchit Ananda, the essence of every individual Nama Rupa. Scriptures declare that the eternal, all-pervading consciousness, Paramatma or Brahman, is also Satchitananda. Our higher nature, Atma and Brahman, are one and the same. Why then don't we experience Ananta Ananda, supreme love and bliss, the inherent nature of Atma and Brahman always? Why do we experience samsara? Next slide, please. Swami Paramatmananda explains that the reason is Atma Swarupa is not clearly known to us. Partial or incomplete knowledge, avidya of our higher nature, is the cause of all our problems. We learn with the help of Guru and scriptures that everything in this universe is asti bhati priyam nama rupa, meaning existence is an expression of attractiveness, inherent joy, loves itself, priyam. Taittiriya Upanishad Mantra 3.6 says, all beings are born of Ananda, are sustained by Ananda, and ultimately merge back into Ananda to become one with it. Our higher self, Atma, is the object of love and a source of infinite delight, joy, contentment, and bliss. Ananda Hetu. The question asked is, does this bliss of the self manifest or not? Is it experienced or not? Does it reveal itself or not? Next slide, please. In this verse, Swamy Vidyaranya says, Abhanena param prema. If that bliss were not known, there cannot be the highest love, Atma Ananda. Abhane, if the bliss does not reveal itself, that is, if it is not experienced, then we cannot say we have supreme love for self. But we all do have supreme affection for the self. As Vyavaharika Jiva, the Prema, Ananda, and Sukham I experience is for I, me, mine. Whatever gives us joy, we love that. The moment we taste some joy, we go for more of it. That joy is actually the experience of bliss. It comes from the self. We do not know that while steeped in ignorance, but unconsciously, abhane, we are tasting the joy of self. The bliss we experience in the world is a reflection of the ultimate Ananda of original consciousness or Brahman, the reflected consciousness Chidavasa that enlivens us, enables this experience in us. Self love indicates I am Ananda Swarupa. Hence, we cannot but have instinctive affection for the self. A Vyavaharika Jiva is not aware that every experience is a dance of Ananda. We need to look into the obstruction which prevents us from knowing where the joy comes from. Bhanena Vishaya Spruha. If that bliss were known, then for worldly objects there cannot be any attraction. Bhane, bliss does reveal itself. For example, if we assume that we are a Jivan Mukta Jnani with Atma Anubhuti and Jnanam of Aikya of Jivatma and Paramatma, we would have known and realized the spiritual meaning of Ananda of true self. This Ananda refers to the deeper and timeless dimension of happiness, not just a degree of the joys that we normally experiences in life. This realization of self brings inner peace and joy, which are natural expressions of self-love. If a Vyavaharika Jiva has attained this exalted state of understanding about Atma, the true self, if so, then it follows we should not have any attraction for worldly objects. For if we are already enjoying the bliss of self, why would we be hankering for the joy through sense objects? Both of these cannot go together. But we do have that attraction. Yet our experience is both are possible. Ataha bhane abhata asa. Next slide, please. Bliss can be known, and yet this bliss remains in practice unknown. As a Vyavaharika Jiva who is not an Ajnani or a Jivan Mukta Jnani with partial knowledge and partial ignorance of our Atma Swarupa, we experience fragments of Atma Ananda self-love. Its expression falters, moving towards conditional love with glimpses of unconditional love. We do not understand clearly that Atma is Ananda Hetu and the potential in us to realize its magnificence, Param Prema and Parama Ananda. Therefore, samsara continues. We are actually searching for a means to achieve this goal. The means that we are adopting to find it in the objects of the world shows us that we have not achieved the goal, the experience of supreme bliss. We have to admit that we are experiencing the bliss and also not experiencing it in all its anantatvam, that is Paramanandata Atmanaha. Thank you, sir. Harihi Om.
Thank you very much, Kirti ji, for a nice explanation of this verse. And what we have learned is, although I am very clear, I am Satchit Ananda. I am limitless consciousness, limitless existence. Therefore, I should be in a state of Purnatvam, but yet I have so much attraction to worldly objects. And if I'm attracted to something, that means there is still a want in me. I know all this stuff, but I do not know completely. So there is only partial knowledge. So, and there is some ignorance. That means this knowledge that I have is mixed with ignorance. So the rest of this chapter is to be able to discover where is that block and how do I remove that block. Dr. Kiran, please.
Hari Om, Gurubhyo Namah. All of us do all the activities just for the sake of one thing, that is happiness, period. Ananda. There's nothing else any human being seeks, whether it is through work, whether it is through relationship, anything, he seeks Ananda. Now, today also we are seeking Ananda. In the previous verses, we all learned many things. Satchit Ananda, Satyam Gnanam Anantam Ananda, everything. Ananda is infinite, Anantam, everything. So we have learned it. But why are not feeling this Ananda? Why we are not it? Because there is something which is obstructing, or there is something called Pratibandha. What is Pratibandha? We should understand this. Vidyaranya is given with a very beautiful example. Commonly we see snake, rope, etc. But here it is a different example. Let me start by saying ignorance is not bliss. Ignorance is just ignorance. I don't know something doesn't always mean bliss, because eventually I start seeking for it. For example, I don't know Chinese. There is this ignorance is anadi. Since when? Since I don't know when. For all practical purpose, it is anadi. But is it anantam? No. As soon as it comes into my sphere, that is my liking, I like it, or something makes me that it provides ananda. I like this language, I like this sweet. I start seeking it. Once that comes into my sphere, then I do those activities. Does it give happiness? Anything in this world, in this object of experience, never gives permanent happiness. Whether it is because of relationship, whether it is because of money, with anything, we don't find permanent happiness. Because, for example, the first jalebi is very good, but the fifth jalebi is no, and the 10th jalebi, you'll vomit. So anything we experience is not anantatvam. That is why we don't feel ananda. What is this pratibandha? How it is? He explains with a beautiful example. Adretra vargam madhyastha putra dhyayena shabdavat bhane apabhanam bhanasya pratibandhena yuchati. A father goes to a school or gurukul and he sees his son is learning in a group, is chanting Vedas or whatever things, he can see his son chanting some words. But can he hear very clearly? No. In the group of the din of many people, somewhere his voice is there. So he knows that it is his son is singing, but he does not know that it is his voice only. That is how we are experiencing the Brahman. That is how we are experiencing the Brahman, or that is our, we should not say even experiencing, that is our knowledge of Brahman. That is our knowledge of happiness. Just to understand this, Adhyetru, we will split the words. Adhyetru is teacher, Varga is the group or Samuha, Madhyas is among the group, and Shabda is sound of chanting. Bhane Pane, you are hearing your son's sound. It is a collective sound, but it is not happening. You are not very clear that which among the voices yourself. So whatever of all the things we are seeing and experiencing, we don't know which of it is Ananta. Next slide, please. Yeah. So Atmananda is, as we had known, is Satchidananda. That means it runs through every experience and beyond experience. But it is not there in all the experience because it is unattached. This is what it is. Here, we don't know that. So here it beautifully explains ahankara and mamakara. I don't know the real I, not what we previously experienced as self-love, etc. This is not crime by itself, but the problem is I don't know what is this self-love. Who is this real I? So I get attached to everything. That is kshetra. First thing I think my own this body-mind complex is me. So this is where ahankara comes. Just beyond that, I see objects which are very close to me. Closest is my family. So I see my son. So this is where the mamakara starts. So I see him, it gives me some happiness because in the voice there is some knowledge, but it does not give me permanent happiness. So anything outside me gives temporary happiness but does not give permanent happiness, including this body mind complex and including every object we see and experience. Similar to, we know the sun is there, the light, but once the eclipse comes, there is a pratibandha, we are not experiencing it. Similarly, we are not experiencing the permanent bliss because there's something which is obstructing this knowledge. What is it? Is it vasana? Is it mind? Is it eyes? What is this which is obstructing? We will read or we will know further. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kiran. So this is the problem. We are already that. We are Satchit Ananda. Can be taken as an example that you have been given an excellent chocolate, but the wrapper has got stuck with the chocolate and you cannot completely remove it. So you're trying to eat that chocolate with the wrapper on, and therefore, although you have the chocolate, which is Ananda, but the wrapper is the Pratibandha. The rest of the Panchadashi chapter 1 will be to discover what is that obstacle and how we are able to remove, because we are already that. This accomplishment is called Praptasya Prapti. It is not that we are going to acquire anything. It is our true nature. It is something that we already are. But there is a wrapping which has to be removed. Let us look at the quiz which has been organized by Sukanya. I will try to answer the questions.
Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Yeah, let's revise the verses that we studied today by way of a quiz. In the previous verses, author has established through reasoning that Atma is Sat, Atma is Chit. Now he is focusing on the Ananda Swarupa of Atma. So he has chosen a verse with illustration. Tat premartha manyatra naiva manyatra matmana adastat paramam tena paramananda tatmana. So on the annual day function, parents go to school to watch their kids in a drama. They enjoy the drama. They pick one of the front seats and they click photos of the kid in every scene. And once the play is over, they leave the school immediately without waiting to see the performance of other kids. And they are neither interested in the school nor interested in the drama. What they are interested in is only about their kid. This is revealed in this verse. What is the essence message here?
Is that a question for me?
Yes, sir. What is the message?
We love ourselves, or whatever we identify ourselves. For example, our own children and grandchildren, we identify as an extension of ourselves. So the message is self-love is the highest love. Everything else is conditional.
Yes, sir. This is also emphasized, as you said earlier, in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, Maitreyi Brahmana, Atmanastu kamaya sarvam priyam bhavati. So, based on this statement of Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, Atmanastu kamaya sarvam priyam bhavati, that is, Atma is premaspadam, self-love is the greatest and limitless, unconditional. But what we find is this is not so in the case of a Gnani. Why is it? Is it because he transcends all pairs of opposites, dvandvas, dvandvatita, even love and hatred? Is it because he has no attachment, he is asanga? And is it because his love and devotion is entirely centered on God? Or is it because he remains committed in his pursuit, yukta asita matpara? Or finally, is it because he is sarva bhutastam atmanam? Please choose one of the options.
I think you have answered. I mean, all of them look good for me because it looks like all of the above.
But I felt sarva bhutastam atmanam, sarvatra samadarshana. This looks more appropriate, I felt. Ajnani sees the same supreme self in all other beings. For him, self-love is universal. Therefore, self-love is universal love for him. Next session. In this verse, Ityam Sachit Parananda Atma Yuktya Tadavidam Param Brahma Tayo Shaikyam Shrutyante Hu Uparishate. Itam here means thus. Atma is proved as Sachit Ananda through reasoning. This is what we heard from the author. And we also know through scriptures, Atma is Sachidananda. Now, how does Advaita Vedanta reconcile oneness between the empirical individuality and the ultimate unconditioned reality? What are the three sources, three ways?
One is to go through our everyday experience, which we call our anubhuti. Second is to logically analyze these experiences, which is called yukti. And third is to go through the scriptures, that is called shruti. So our approach should be shruti, yukti, and anubhuti.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Now, here are the few sentences with appropriate blanks and fill-ins. In this text, author has analyzed Jivatma Swarupa logically through dash.
The author has analyzed Jivatma Swarupa logically through let me see. In this text, the author has analyzed the Jivatma Swarupa logically through life's experiences.
Yes, sir. Atmananda is the greatest source of Ananda, which is called dash and dash.
Atmananda is the greatest source of Ananda, which is called limitless and unconditional.
Yes, sir. Jivatma Sarupa is dash analyzed and Paramatma is revealed in dash. Therefore, their dash is established in Mahavakya.
Jivatma Swarupam is logically analyzed and Paramatma is revealed in the Shastras, and therefore their oneness is established in the Mahavakyas.
Yes, sir. Then there is an obstacle in attaining knowledge. This is removed by converting dash vyavahara to dash vyavahara.
The obstacle in attaining knowledge is removed by converting nasti na bhati to asti bhati.
Yes, sir. All our life experiences have two aspects, dash and dash.
Asti and bhati. Clear?
Yes, sir. Correct.
Thank you.
Then in this verse, cause of samsara is highlighted. Abhanena param prema, bhanena vishaye spraha, ato bhanepya bhanasau, paramananda tatmana. Abhanena param prema. That means if the knowledge that Atma is limitless, unconditional, Ananda was clearly known to us, we would not seek happiness outside. There is cognition, but not continuously, not clearly, fully. Sometimes it is known, sometimes it is not known. What is it due to? Is it partial ignorance, partial knowledge, total ignorance, total knowledge, none of the above, or all of the above?
If I have to choose one, it is partial knowledge. If I had to choose two, I'll say partial knowledge and partial ignorance.
Yes, sir. Can I say this?
Please go ahead.
In spite of knowing, it's not consistently clearly known. Bhanena Vishaye Spraha means the desire for objects wields the knowledge. Total ignorance, as you said, is a bliss, everybody says, and total knowledge is super bliss. What is dangerous is the partial knowledge. So, total knowledge is possible only through Shravana, Manana of scriptures under the guidance of a Shrutriya Brahmanishta Guru. Now we'll go to the next question, sir. There are two sets here. Mark the following. Ignorance or Ajnana is born out of dash guna.
Ignorance, ajnana, is born out of tamoguna.
Yes. Ananda is born out of dash guna.
Ananda is born out of sattva guna.
Happiness born out of mind is called dash and is dash.
Happiness born out of the mind is Vishayananda and is incidental.
Yes, yes. And happiness experienced when the mind is resolved is called dash and is dash.
Happiness experienced when the mind is resolved is called Brahmananda and it is transcendental.
Now, this is another verse. It has an illustration about why we have partial knowledge. Adhyetru varga madhyastha putradhyayana shabdavat bhanepya bhanam bhanasya pratibandhena yujyate. In this illustration, there is a group song in a school by the children, and you are there to enjoy your kids' song. But you are not able to distinctly hear your kid's voice amidst so many other kids singing. This is indicated by the word bhane api abhanam. Applying this analogy for self-knowledge, what is the pratibandha obstacle here?
That means I do see my child singing. That means I'm able to experience, but there is that experience is mixed with a lot of obstacles. So although my experience of Ananda or Purnatvam is there, there is so much of there are pratibandha or obstacles that therefore I'm not able to experience it fully.
Yes, sir. Then on the same subject, the same issue, we know we are already that. Aham Brahmasmi is known to us, but we do not know this consistently. This vagueness is called partial knowledge. Now, what is the clear knowledge? Mark yes or no. I am helpless, limited Jivatma.
I'm a helpless, limited Jivatma. The answer should be very strongly no.
No. I am the source of eternal Ananda.
So all of us students of Paramatma Ananda ji should be able to strongly say, even in our most difficult moments, yes.
I am the immortal, invisible essence of life.
Yes, all these with conviction.
Then, the joy that I experience in Vyavahara is conditional.
Yes, true. It is conditional.
Then, this self-knowledge, it's repeatedly mentioned in the Shastras, self-knowledge is difficult to attain. They use the words durgneyam and durlabham. Vedanta says human birth is rare. Among them also, very few strive for Atma Vidya. Can you please name the verses conveying this message from Bhagavad Gita or the Viveka Chudamani?
In Viveka Chudamani, there is a verse which says, Manushutvam, Mumukshutvam, Mahapurusha. Is that the verse?
Durlabham
I'm
Trayamini
sorry. Okay, I'll get it. Durlabham Traivam, Durlabham Traivam
Etat.
Etad Manushutvam Mahapurusha Samashrayah. Please quote that entire verse.
Okay. Then from Bhagavad Gita?
From Bhagavad Gita, it was very difficult to attain. Manushanam sahasreshu kaschid yatati siddhe. Yatatam api siddhanam kaschit vetu
Tatvataha.
tatvataha.
We come to the answer. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
As we conclude this session, our heartfelt gratitude to Dr. Hegde sir for guiding us with clarity and profound insights. We sincerely thank our speakers, Dr. Divakar, Srimati Indumati, Dr. Sheila Jaiprakash, Srimati Kirti Sridhar, and Dr. Kiran for shedding light on the profound verses, and Srimati Sukanya for the thought-provoking quiz. And a warm thank you to all our friends here for your participation and dedication to this journey of self-discovery. Let us meet again on Monday, 25th August 2025 at 6:45 p.m. for the next session in our Mananam series, where we continue with the Kathopanishad chapter 1, only 2 verses, guided by Dr. Hegde sir. Until then, let us stay inspired, reflective, and may the light of Vedantic wisdom continue to illuminate our paths. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you.